In the heart of the wild savannah, where the sun burned relentlessly across the golden grass, there lived a young sheep named Lila. Her wool was thick and soft, white as the clouds in the sky, but it carried the weight of sorrow. Lila had lost her family to the harshness of nature when she was just a lamb. The wind howled with memories of her mother's gentle bleats and her father's protective gaze. But now, all that remained was the loneliness in her heart and the vast, unforgiving wilderness around her. Lila wandered alone day after day, grazing on sparse patches of grass and searching for water in the dry riverbeds. But no matter how far she traveled, there was always the creeping feeling that something worse was lurking just beyond the horizon. The wolves had been tracking her. They were fast, cunning, and relentless. Every step she took, they followed, waiting for the right moment to strike. She knew the dangers of the savannah well. There was always the constant threat of predators. But the wolves were different. They were patient, methodical, and silent in their pursuit. Lila had narrowly escaped several times, but each time she felt the wolf pack closing in tighter. Their cold eyes never left her, their hunger driving them to keep her in their sights. One evening, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, Lila found herself at the edge of the savannah, just beyond the dense forest where the shadows seemed to stretch out, thick and unnerving. She had made her way here in search of safety, but she could feel it. The eyes of the wolves on her back. She didn't have much time. Her body trembled with exhaustion as she collapsed into a patch of grass, her breath shallow and labored. She was too tired to run anymore, too afraid to even look back. And as the darkness of the night began to settle around her, the first sound she heard was the unmistakable growl of the wolves, closing in. But then, something changed. A deep, rumbling roar echoed through the forest, shaking the ground beneath her. The wolves stopped in their tracks, their eyes widening in fear. Lila barely had time to lift her head before she saw him, a figure emerging from the shadows, tall and powerful, his golden mane flowing like fire in the dim light. The lion, with his piercing eyes and muscles ripping under his tawny coat, moved toward the wolves with a confidence that left them frozen in place. The wolves, who had stalked Lila with terrifying precision, now backed away, their tails tucked between their legs. The lion's presence was overwhelming. It was as though the earth itself bowed to him. With another low growl, he advanced, and the wolves, unwilling to challenge the king of the savannah, turned and fled into the night. Lila lay there, stunned, unable to comprehend what had just happened. She had seen lions from a distance before, heard tales of their strength and dominance, but never in her wildest dreams did she expect one to save her life. The lion approached her slowly, his amber eyes locked on hers. Lila didn't know what to do, her heart racing with both fear and curiosity. Could she trust him? He was a predator after all. His very nature dictated that she was nothing more than prey. But the lion didn't strike. Instead, he sat down a few feet away from her, his gaze gentle. There was no malice in his eyes, only an eerie calm that put her at ease. For the first time in a long while, Lila felt a sense of safety. "Well, did you save me?" Lila asked, her voice trembling as she gazed up at the lion. The lion's response was soft, almost like a whisper in the wind. "You were not meant to be prey tonight." Lila blinked in confusion. "But you're a lion. Isn't that what you do? Hunt?" The lion's eyes softened, and he lowered his head slightly. "Not all lions are the same, little one. Not all predators are driven by hunger. Some, like me, protect what they can." "No, sir," I retorted. "Pray go." Lila was silent for a moment, trying to understand the lion's words. He was not like the others, she realized. He was different. The days that followed were strange. Lila stayed close to the lion, who introduced himself as Kazi. He was older than she had initially assumed, his mane touched with silver at the edges, but his eyes held a wisdom that went far beyond his years. Kazi did not speak much, but his presence was enough. He would watch over Lila as she grazed, protect her from any threats, and keep her safe from the dangers of the wild. Lila, on the other hand, had never been so close to such a powerful creature. Her instincts told her to be cautious, to never trust a lion. But there was something different about Kazi. She could feel it in the way he moved, the way he kept her from harm, the way he kept her from harm, the way he never once showed aggression toward her. Days turned into weeks, and an unlikely bond formed between the two. Kazi would often lead Lila to hidden water sources, places where the wolves could not reach. He would show her how to spot danger from miles away and how to use the terrain to her advantage. The lion taught her the ways of survival in the wild, something she had never known before. And in return, Lila brought joy into Kazi's life. Her innocence and trust reminded him of simpler times, when he was young and the world had seemed full of promise. The lion found himself watching over her, not out of necessity, but because he cared for her, something he hadn't felt in years. Though their relationship was built on mutual respect, there were moments when Lila would look up at him and see something more, a deep connection that transcended the predator-prey dynamic they were both born into. It wasn't long before the wolves returned. They were relentless, as always, and this time they were not alone. The pack had grown stronger, and their leader, a massive alpha wolf named Kor, was determined to claim Lila once and for all. Kazi, ever watchful, could sense their approach long before they arrived. He could feel the earth tremble under the weight of the wolves' paws, and the hair on the back of his neck stood on end. The wolves were closing in. He turned to Lila. "Stay close," he said, his voice low and steady. "They will not stop until they have you." Lila's heart raced as the sound of growling and snapping jaws grew louder. She had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The wolves were too fast, too numerous. They shuffled towards her, and some looked, but Kazi wasn't afraid. He stood tall, his muscles rippling with power as he prepared for battle. "I will protect you," he said, a promise in his voice. And with that, the wolves emerged from the shadows, their eyes hungry and their teeth bared. The alpha, Kor, stepped forward, his eyes locked on Lila. "You can't protect her forever, lion," Kor snarled. "She belongs to us." Kazi's eyes narrowed. "She belongs to no one, not even you." With a roar, the lion charged at the pack, his claws striking with deadly precision. The wolves hesitated for a moment, but then the battle began in full force. Lila watched in awe as Kazi fought with unmatched strength, his body moving like a blur of golden fury. But the wolves were many, and Kor was powerful. The alpha lunged at Kazi, his sharp teeth aimed at the lion's throat. For a moment, it seemed as though the battle would be lost. But Kazi's resolve never wavered. With one final mighty roar, he struck down Core, sending the Alpha crashing into the dirt. The remaining wolves, seeing their leader defeated, hesitated, then retreated into the forest, leaving Lila and Kazi standing victorious. In the aftermath of the battle, Lila and Kazi stood side by side, their bond stronger than ever. The lion had not only saved her life, but had shown her that there was more to this world than fear and survival. Together, they had conquered the wolves, and together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Lila had come to realize that the savannah was not just a place of danger and hardship. It was a place where the unexpected could happen, where a sheep could find friendship in a lion, and a lion could find purpose in protecting a helpless creature. Lila had come to realize that the landscape is powerful. Their journey together had only just begun, but Lila knew one thing for sure. As long as she had Kazi by her side, she would never feel helpless again.